everyone, and welcome to our webinar on what's new in Content Manager 9.3. My name is Renee Demick, and I work for Information First, and I have two colleagues here with me today, Beau and Erik Wold. They both are Information Governance Solution Architects, and they're here on the line, and they'll say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, you go ahead, Erik.
No, we're going to talk together.
We are.
In sequence. Hi.
Thank you. So without further ado, I'll get into today's presentation. Content Manager 9.3 is here. Today we'll show you the new and enhanced features of the full client. We'll take you on a tour of the web client, demonstrating its powerful functionality and ease of use. This next slide's a bit redundant, but we'll go a little more detail into what the agenda is today. So the webinar agenda will cover showing and explaining the new and enhanced features of Content Manager 9.3. As I mentioned, demonstrating using Content Manager 9.3 web client to perform your everyday CM functions. We will take a look at the full client too, by the way, and also highlight recent web client enhancements. Of course, I can't possibly cover everything that has been new and improved in Content Manager 9.3, so I urge you to refer to the release notes. And just for some background information, Content Manager 9.3 was released in August 2018, and as I mentioned, please see the release notes for full details of what's not covered today. One of the most obvious things that you'll see different in Content Manager is, of course, the rebranding. Roughly 2 years ago, Content Manager was purchased by Micro Focus, and you will see their branding and their color palette throughout the application now. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And with that, I'm going to hold it here and move us into the application, looking at the full client. All right, give that a moment. And pardon me while I do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and launch the full client. And again, you'll see the new branding. And now one of my favorite features doesn't come up right away, but I'm going to show you what that is. Let me move that to the middle of the screen. So there is a new welcome screen called What's New, and this screen lists the features and enhancements of the product. It appears the first time a user opens Content Manager, and then as you saw, it appears on the help menu after that. This is a very helpful and convenient feature. In my opinion, it lists all the features and enhancements and makes for easy sharing of the information. The next feature is also becoming one of my favorites. I was a little skeptical in the beginning, so let me show you what I'm referring to. I'm going to bring up a record. I just executed a quick search so that I can have a record here to show. And what I want to show you all is a new feature to the view pane. So traditionally, pardon me, I'm just going to pull this up. The properties showed below, and now we have the option from the View tab with the View pane drop-down to have that information appear to the right. Now, in order to see it, you do have to close out of the application and open it back up. So give me a moment as I do that, please. And there we have it. So as I said, pardon me, The pane previously appeared by default on the bottom. If you wish to have it appear to the right, you may. And like I said, this feature is growing on me. It, in my opinion, allows for more efficient use of the screen, especially when you're looking at the actual preview of the record. Okay. Moving on, I'm going to show a couple of new features that have been added to record tasks. And in order to do that, I am just going to bring up some favorite records. And I will just close this window just to start fresh. Okay. And I'm going to expand this folder and show the records here. And now one of the new features that I was about to show is a feature that allows you to change the title on single or multiple records. I'm going to select all of the records here, and in order to do that, I'm just going to navigate to the contained records just to make it a little bit tidier. I'm going to select all of the records, and now I'll bring your attention to the new feature that's on the right click menu of the record, under details, and then title. We've all seen this screen before. And now I have the capacity to change the title in many different ways depending on how the record is titled. In this case, I want to append the year to all of these titles, and so I'm going to add 2018, and let's just see that trickle down. And I'll pause there for a second because I didn't mention that that feature is an administrator and records manager feature. I'm going to go ahead and deselect that. Okay. And moving right along, I have just two more features that I'm going to show here in the full client, and they involve locations. So I'm going to go to my favorite locations. And so two of the new features allow, again, for a single or a multiple location selection, allowing some changes of user type, user profile details. So let's take a look for a second. I have these two locations that are both internal, and their time is coming to an end with my organization, and I want to make the changes in Content Manager reflect that. Once again, I'll select those locations. Okay. And here are the two new options I'm speaking of. First, I'll start with change location type. And now I'm not going to change their type. That is, I'm not going to change them from people to organizations or such, but I'll just show you what that looks like, even though, again, that's not what I'm going to do. But I will change them from internal to external. Yes, oh, shucks, I'm sorry. I have to deselect that, pardon me. And we'll see that they've turned external, and you can see that with the color changing to red. Another detail that I want to change for these folks, let me get to the screen, is that I want their profiles to no longer be accepting logins, and I'll make their login expiration date be next Friday. Go ahead and I will make those changes. Okay. And I'm going to hold that screen here for a second and allow for questions as I transition back to some PowerPoint. Okay. And I just wanted to show this slide that shows a number of other enhancements and features that are included in Content Manager 9.3 that I did not show in the demonstration. Okay, and before I go to the web, I'll pause to my helpers. Are there any questions from the audience, Beau or Erik?
There's nothing in the chat log. So everyone, if you are tuning in through the YouTube, you may be required to sign up to, or at least register with your YouTube account. Not register, I shouldn't say that, but use your YouTube account to post a comment. But by all means, Erik and I are watching the chat in the webinar session. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them there and we'll try to deal with them. The other thing I'll just remind everyone, there is about a 15 or 20 second delay from the live portion to when it's actually being viewed. So expect your question to appear or be addressed, but it might take upwards of 15 or 20 seconds for us to get to it. But other than that, no, I think it's going great. I personally like we were just discussing in the chat, the layout. I like the switch to the side-by-side because it looks a lot like the web client now. So that makes the adoption rate from a end user desktop to an end user web client a lot easier because it's going to look more familiar to them, and the ramp up speed will be a little bit quicker. So no, it's going good.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took so long for that to come out, because it's the first thing you do every single time. Because if you have a lot of documents that you're scrolling through, you've got to be able to get to the bottom to see if that's the document you're looking for. And I think it's a lot easier to be able to see it full screen almost. And I'm surprised it took them so long.
I know. I think you're right, Erik. A lot of comments, initial feedback has been the ability to better preview the documents, which is, it's not in that little screen. They can see it full size. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the commentary. And I'm going to bring us back to the web client now. Okay. And as you can see, I have launched the web client. And before I go into the demonstration, of course, I'd like to mention that the web client is a zero footprint product. And in the last number of iterations, that really the web client has improved greatly, and the functionality is really such that a knowledge worker can do their everyday content management functions here. So let's go back and take a look at the product. So when the page opens up, it opens to the home page, which is the main page here, where you see I have 3 panels: favorite records, favorite saved searches, and recent documents. Those are the panels that I've decided that I want to see on my my web page, and have them shown when I launch. And so I'll show you quickly how that can be changed from settings. Oh my. That took a moment. You'll see that you have the capacity to make changes here. You can have only up to 3 panels, but you can make other selections that meet the way that you prefer to work. So I'll just cancel that. I wanted to show. And also I wanted to show how easy you can make some changes. If I'd prefer to see my recent documents in the center panel, then of course I can do that. Okay. Taking a moment now to look at some of the navigation and some of the layout. I failed to mention the rebranding. I did mention that earlier today, but of course it carries through in the web client as well. Okay. Like I mentioned, the 3 panes here in the main home page. You also have your navigation pane on the left. And just to show, I'll click on records, and a secondary panel will appear. And by default, as you can probably see with the big blue band, that favorite records are going to be shown in just a minute.
While we're waiting there, Renee, I'll just say that the one thing is, if you have 3 panels on display and you want to change one, you're going to have to remove one of the 3 first. If you go to add a 4th one or click on the one you want, it's going to give you an error that, hey, you can only show 4 panels. So be sure to deselect one and then select it when you're ready.
Thank you.
Well, I would move on from this. I don't
Yes.
know why it's querying your favorite so long.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to home. Pardon me.
It's even worth noting there, though, that the even the tabs, the home tab and the favorite record tabs, is a newer addition. I think it actually came in 9.2, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again in 9.3 that this again emulates what you can turn on in the desktop, having the ability to have multiple tabs, if you will. So that really helps navigation as well.
It does. Thank you, Beau. Okay. So let me go ahead and bring up some records so we can carry on with the demonstration. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to mention that is a new feature, as you'll notice next to the folders there are plus signs, which means there is a hierarchical view. By clicking on the plus, I'm going to see the documents or the records that are within this folder. Okay. I'd also like to point out, as I'm scrolling down here, the file icons are new to those who haven't used this version of the product yet. Okay. And also, as I scroll down, I'll mention that Continual Scroll is a new feature here as well. While I'm here on the folder, I'll show you the record options that you can perform here. I'll just give you a quick show. I won't necessarily act on anything just yet. Okay, so all of the record features that you would expect that perhaps you're used to using from the right click in the full client, you have the capacity to do all of those same things here, and then some. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and navigate to the contained records, which is just a preference of mine. I prefer to see the records. And I'm going to focus on this record right here, evaluation, just to show a few other things. Okay. So this particular record is a document. It's a Word document, as you can see. I'm going to bring up the properties, which is invoked from this little arrow. When I invoke that, you'll see that the properties are shown. Okay, this field and this feature is enhanced since 9.2. And I'll show you how you can add additional properties if you would like to see them here. I just clicked on the select properties. Okay. A window comes up similar to what you're used to seeing in the full client. If you like, you can scroll down to find the property that you're looking for. So I'll do that in the first case. I would also like to see author associated with this particular record. And then I also would like to see the revision number, and I'm going to go ahead and type that in at the top. Okay, and when I find it, I'll click add. Pardon me, I'll highlight it and click add. Okay, and I can also drag that information up if I would like to rearrange the order. So just to reiterate what I did, I added additional properties for that particular record and record type. I was interested in seeing the revision number and interested in seeing the author as well, which I added to the properties. Now I'm going to take a closer look at the document itself. And the web viewer, the viewer of the document, is loading. There are some nice enhancements on this screen as well that we will see in just a second as the record appears. Okay. We have the option to download the record from here if you wish to do that. an option to generate, and then you could copy the URL link, perhaps to share with other users. Okay. A new feature for revisions. Let me go ahead and click on that so you can take a look. Okay. Previous revisions of the record, of the document rather, are shown here. And moreover, there are actions that can be done. Sorry, my mouse is slow. To preserve or to promote. And that's what these buttons are here, even though they're not active right now.
I think some of those features on that window are some of the most natural and some of the best features you have for preview in a web client. And for those that have been in the web client for as long as it's been around, know that none of that was really readily available. So I think this is really taking it to a very foundational level of these are all the common actions you use within a web client for viewing documents. So I think it's really great to see them finally.
I agree. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close the properties window just to get some real estate back. I'm also, as Beau mentioned, I'm going to draw your attention up to the top here where I can close the tabs for the windows for easy navigation to make my way back if I wish. Okay, although I am going to stop here on this particular folder because I am going to create a record both from within the web client, and then we'll take a look at Microsoft Word as well and some of the integrations. Okay, so from the folder, I go ahead and select New and New Record. Again, screens, information that's familiar, perhaps screens that look a little bit different than you're accustomed, but I'll select the record type, in this case document, and the data entry form will appear. Okay. I'm going to give the document a title. It's contained in that folder. Okay, I'm going to work my way down through the screen, and let me scroll up just a little bit. Okay, one of the fields that I need to enter is a department number, and notice a validation error popped up. This is also new. In-field validation telling me that I've made a mistake. 23 is not in the range of 1 to 15, so telling me that the department numbers have to be in the range of 1 to 15. Okay, I don't have to go all the way out of the form before I'm prompted that I made that error. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add the document, the electronic portion of the document to this record, noting that I could drag and drop if I wish. I'm not going to though. I'm going to go ahead and just take a document that's already been authored, and then I will save it. And noting I am scrolling down to the bottom of the page here, and I'll save the record. And as we're watching the screen turn, again, I'll let anyone jump in with questions or comments if they like. Okay.
I think we got to give that VM a little more RAM, Renee. That might help.
Perhaps. Okay. Thanks. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Office integration from Microsoft Word before we go back into the web client and take a look at the records that we've created today. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to open up Microsoft Word, and a couple of new features that I'd like to show here as well. from the File menu, notice that Content Manager is now a place here, and also Content Manager options, you have the capacity to select the web client as your default client, which is also handy. Ready. And just simply authoring a document here that I wish to put into Content Manager. I selected the Content Manager ribbon. I'm going to select the option to check in on close, which means when I close this document, I'm going to be prompted to check the record into Content Manager. And there's another data entry screen that we're familiar with. And I will find my folder. Again, give it a department, and go ahead and click OK. Okay. And now with that, I'll take the opportunity to look at the searching features to bring back that record, and also to take a moment to look at searching. So once again, I'm closing my tabs just in an effort to navigate back, to bring back to a nice clean screen. And if I want to use searching using the quick pane, I can do something simple like adding a title word to search for, and as I type that in and hit the enter key to execute the search, okay, no simpler search than a title word search in the search pane, and there is the document that I created earlier. Looking at searching in a more robust way, I can select the search editor, which brings up functions that you're familiar with, but again in a screen that looks a little bit different. So this is where we can build a query for our search. And if I wanted to do a date registered search, which is a common search, I can many ways. Again, I could type in the name of the search here. I can scroll through the list to find it. And go ahead and provide a date range if I like. So a date registered search in Content Manager speak is the date that the document or the record was entered into the system. I'll go back from the first. Okay, I could also type in the dates instead of using the calendar widget if I choose. Okay. And notice I clicked to add that search to the parameters here, noticing I still have the option to perform filters and sorts. I'll pause here for a second so you can take a look at and the feel for this screen. In this case, I want to bring back only the documents. And there they are. Ooh, all of the records that were created in that time frame that also have the record type of document. And once again, I'm going to go back to my tabs and close, and I hear Beau coming on the line.
No, do you? Really? I tried to sneak on. I was just going to point out the application icons, the Word and Excel. That's kind of cool.
Yes, and they are new in since 9.2.
Renee, I just stepped away for 2 seconds. Did you happen to demonstrate the nesting view from the folder yet?
I did, but I'll show again.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine if you've done it. I know you were on a tab. I thought you were going to talk about it, but I had a doorbell, so I'm back now.
Okay. So by nesting, you mean expanding the folder and showing the contents?
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Without having to do that navigation into like we used to in the earlier web client.
Which, of course, is a treat. Okay.
The other thing, Renee, I know you covered a little bit, but I also like how clean the search is now. So for those familiar with earlier web clients, we had the search for record. It was a little obvious. Then we had two icons. Typically, one was the form search, one was the advanced search editor. I like the fact that they've cleaned it all up, and everything is just under the options drop down, where you can pick what search you want. You can potentially grab your corporate forms if they've built any for you, or you can grab the default form search. I do like that. A lot cleaner.
Yeah, I agree. And notice moving back to my home page, clearly we have the capacity to save searches, and I go ahead and I can run a save search. So these are all the records that were registered this month, so relatively similar to the search that I executed just a minute ago, but this happens to be a save search.
Just while we're waiting there, I was going to bring up that we're about 12 minutes to go into our 45-minute webinar. Now, we were intending and save some time and space for Q&A. So again, if you have any questions or comments, you'd like to post them in the chat, we'll address those in the final moments of the webinars.
Thank you. With that, Beau, I'll ask you if you've received any questions from the group that you would like to.
Me, not as of yet. I don't see any. I don't know if we have any on email. I'll check that out as well. 1 second.
Okay. And as Beau is doing that, I'll go ahead and take a look into properties of a record again. So just to assure you that the capacity to check in and check out is still available, or is available in this product. Okay, so you can check out and check in, and if your system is so configured, you can even do a checkout and edit, which essentially merges the check-in and check-out together in one handy tool. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Beau.
I was going to say, Renee, could we ask? We got a question over here about check-in styles and what those are.
Not certain if we have a check-in style created here.
So,
Sorry, I
I
just
could
muted.
answer it a little bit if that's okay.
Sure.
Check-in styles are used for end users that are essentially getting a template for how emails could be entered into the system. I think if you click on, this basic check-in style is one person's way of indicating the defaults they want instead of having to enter in an owner or a record type or a container, and of course classification because it's there too. So that this template of information is already laid down. So if they're putting it into their into an Outlook linked folder, then this style would be used. If you click on default, then you can get to some of the other options that will show you about how this template can be put together. So you can see there's a lot of other features in here, and I know a lot of people that use you might be using records across maybe different you could be putting a lot of documents into a system, but maybe your defaults for record type don't really have to go, all for every record you're putting in, but you have to use the same record type, or maybe you're using different metadata related to it or different security on it. So you've got some features you can put in here that you can basically default those, where sometimes you might have to split out into multiple record types, but you can put those defaults into these different check-in styles. And then if you go down to the processing section, and these are where you're really getting into the behavior for how things are being put in. If you're putting this into like an email folder, so if things are getting put into the system and you want these emails to be deleted, so you might be familiar with this from document queues or from some of the email things, but these check-in styles are then a much easier way for the end user from a web client view to create these templates for the way that the records are put in. And that really adds a lot of functionality that an end user from a web client who really wasn't familiar with a thick client too much might really take to. And then you can have these as simpler options for entering records in as an end user via the web client.
Thank you, Erik. Okay. And with that, I will transition us over officially into further questions.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Is there any other things that we could quickly show? Actually, Renee, there is this is one thing of mine that I always have enjoyed, and I know a lot of work goes into it, is the help file. And I think that the help file in the client, in the desktop client, has always been useful, the F1 key. But I think you'll find that the help file in the web client is just as good. So in this, thanks for clicking on it. What you'll see is you have the ability to browse. You'll have the ability to search for terms down in the bottom left area. You can search by categories, or sorry, by contents. You can also click a search for your term. You can add anything to your favorites. So if there's a particular topic that you're interested in, and when you find it in the search, just go ahead and hit the in the top right hand corner. You see the little heart. Once you get to a topic area or subject area of interest to you, you just heart it, and it will go into your favorites. You don't have to look for it again. So I do think the help file, and as an instructor, and when we deploy it, especially for new customers, is we constantly remind them that the help file is very helpful. It does provide that contextual help in the desktop, and now even more so in the web client.
And I apologize, I may have not been on the help screen as you were talking about it, Beau.
No, you were.
Okay.
You're good. You're on it now. And we do have a question from one of our attendees, so thank you. The question is around physical space management and or to consignment. I'm assuming consignment is from the advanced disposition kind of process. So I know from physical management there hasn't been any significant changes. Still the old warehousing. Erik, are you aware of anything in particular around the space that I might be missing?
No, not in space management.
Okay. And the consignment, I don't believe has had any significant changes over when they first introduced it back in version 9, right?
No, consignment has had some improvement, and consignment has been given the ability to send out multiple emails to multiple owners, I think. I'm sorry, no, it's multiple approvers.
That's right.
That was some of the, and I can't remember if this was 9.3 or is 9.2, but I know that was one of the things that changed in consignment.
Excellent. Another thing, Renee, if you could just navigate to was the ability of the viewer. So similar to the desktop client, you can to some degree customize the viewer of the web client a little bit. So that's in through the web client user options. And when we have that, yeah, and then when we have the, so when you go over to the document viewer, so there's your option to bypass, kind of like what we do in the desktop client for any particular ones, whether you want to use Adobe, Adobe X or something now for the web one. So that's been implemented as well. And Renee, I don't know if this image has it. Can you just click on the options drop down by the search this time and just hold it there for a second? Great. So there we have the search editor, which opens up kind of what we would consider the advanced or Boolean search editor typically. You can apply your sort, and then there's your form search. Now, there aren't any other ones, I don't believe, in this training image, but you do get the default, which is the equivalent to the multi-field editor. And the one big advantage of the web client over the desktop client is the ability to create a variety of form search editors, which some of the work that we've been doing, especially when we're doing decommissioning of units and or processes, we can build a form search specifically for those users. So when they come on the new system or when they come on with the content manager, and we just make a form search unique to what their records are and the metadata that's relevant. And what they would do the first time, just Renee, if you could just click on the view search form. I don't think we have any, but what they would see here is a list of available search forms that the company produces. And some obviously won't apply to them, but some will, and they could then add them to their favorites. So that's a handy feature. I think that's one of the selling features, because we talk about, there's hundreds of search methods. When we can dwindle it down to maybe the 5 most popular that a user or a department need and turn it into a search form, it's win-win for everybody. It takes a lot of the mystery out of searching.
Thank you, Beau. And I'll point out, Beau, that you have an excellent video on those topics at our YouTube site.
At YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're all here watching the live stream. So once this webinar is done, it does become a video. You'll be able to download it as Renee said, in addition to many other videos that we have produced and are yet to produce.
Correct. Okay.
I think that brings us to the time. Erik, did you get any other comments or questions?
No, I think that's all we have.
Perfect.
So I'd like to thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Like Beau said, a recording of the webinar will be on the YouTube site for you to watch at a later date. And also, we certainly encourage you to look at the other videos that are there. There are many helpful videos on searching, on rendering, on topics that are of interest, and the site will continue to grow with additional videos as we continue to make them and try to find topics that are of interest to you all.
All right. Thanks, Renee. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you now.